one's asking why. The world keeps spinning, no one seems to care. Lost in the noise, a silent prayer. Does anyone out there even hear the cry? I'm just a voice in the wind, but I'll keep on screaming, 'cause someone's missing. I won't stop dreaming.
Hi, thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight we're going to go over some adult-only content, so please be 18 years old and up to watch this content. It's very important. There's a lot of disturbing details in this. What we're doing tonight is true crime, disturbing crimes. These are the ones nobody wants to talk about, but they need spoken about. Each life matters. How they pass away matters, but who they are matters more. And it's very important that even in the disturbing cases, we make them a priority because although they are no longer with us, they matter today as much as they did the day that they had passed or the day that someone had taken it upon themselves to take their life. With that being said, let me go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll go ahead and get started right now. Thank you.
His own home. He was just 6 years old. The people allegedly responsible were those that were supposed to be his protectors. Stories like this never make sense. They're so impossible to comprehend. But even more shocking in this case is what this dad turned killer told authorities to try to cover his tracks and put the blame on his own son. And that dad is about to learn his fate. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
Before we get started, and I will forget, so I want to go ahead and get this taken care of. This is our content disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this video are not meant to hurt any individual. We cannot be held liable in such situations. Copyright disclaimer under Section 52 of the Copyright Act, 1957. Exceptions are given for fair dealing, for purposes such as fair dealing of any work or private or personal use. That is also including research for criticism or review, for reporting of current events or current affairs, and of course, for commentary. Like I said, guys, nothing in here is to hurt anyone. The main thing here is to focus on the victim and to respect the victim. And I also expect chat to go ahead and chat with one another, do your normal thing, but please have respect for each victim that is spoken about tonight. Thank you, guys.
Guys, before we get into this story, let's talk about the app Up, as if it's not as bad as it really is. Now, you'll see what I mean when I tell you what 29-year-old Franklin Elmore said in court when he was asked whether he killed his own son. Here's a picture of that boy, 6-year-old Justin. They lived in Elkhart, Indiana. That's in the northeast part of that state. Franklin Elkhart was married to a woman named Cheyenne Elkhart. She was the stepmom of Justin, the victim in this story. Now, Justin's biological mom is now being very vocal about the red flags and the warning signs that she says were missed before her son's murder. On the night of August 3rd, the authorities were called to the Elmore home because the 6-year-old was unresponsive. When Justin's mom and stepdad were asked what happened, they acted as if they had no idea. In fact, they told police that it's possible that the boy did it to himself because he had behavioral issues and would, quote, hit himself in the head. Now, when doctors took a look at Justin's injuries, that proved to be a lie. Justin had a traumatic brain injury, a punctured lung as well. That's according to the Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office. There is no way, they say, that a 6-year-old could give himself injuries that serious. The investigation unveiled a horrific home life for this little boy. Prosecutors say that Franklin Elmore would beat Justin, and Cheyenne Elmore, she's accused of taking part in the behavior as well. The couple allegedly gave this 6-year-old, quote, whoopings. They allegedly used their hands, they used a belt, and they even forced this 6-year-old to exercise for hours as punishment. He's just 6 years old. Now, as far as the evidence that prosecutors have in this case, pictures, several of them, on Franklin and Cheyenne's phones, showing Justin with bruises and other visible injuries. Cheyenne has pleaded not guilty to a charge.
Sorry, I guess I wasn't up there. I apologize. What I was saying was, these two can sit here with straight faces and they can say it's just a spanking, but obviously pictures prove different. This right here, child abuse, stand up for children. Guys, please see something, say something. Please.
Will say, of murder for her alleged role that ended Justin's life. Her case is slated to go on trial next year, but Franklin Elmore, the dad who told doctors that his son must have been the one who hit himself hard enough to cause a traumatic brain injury and a punctured lung, has just reportedly pleaded guilty to killing his own son. On the night Justin died, his dad, quote, attacked him in the playroom, leading to those horrific injuries. Now, in court, it appears that Elmore still tried to make it seem like he's not the monster that he truly is. WNDU TV was in the courtroom for Elmore's hearing. His attorney asked, quote, did you knowingly kill another human being, victim one? Elmore replied, quote, yes, sir. The attorney then asked him, quote, do you acknowledge you physically beat your son and he died, end quote? And Elmore replied, quote, I did not mean it. Now, there were concerns about Justin's safety before he lost his life. That is according to Justin's biological mom. Her name is Miranda McBride, and she says that she tried to report the abuse of her son to authorities in Indiana months ago. Quote, they could do nothing because they didn't find any bruises. She told WNDU TV. Now, she says that she was alerted to the abuse of her boy by Franklin Elmore's own mom. That's Justin's grandmother. Justin's dad, Franklin Elmore, he is slated to learn his fate because he is going to be sentenced on November 25th. He was going to stand trial on November 3rd before his guilty plea. Now, as for Justin's stepmom, Cheyenne, she's slated to go on trial in February of next year. Cheyenne Elmore's trial was delayed when a judge granted a motion so her attorney could review her mental health records. Now, to that, Justin's biological mom told WNDU, quote, she wants to claim mental or she's got mental problems, but she didn't have mental problems to her son, McBride said.
Sorry, I have to keep, for commentary, I have to keep pausing, but she could have got this mental help before her son passed away. I feel absolutely no sympathy for a parent that didn't fight harder for their child. I'm sorry, I don't.
Came to her child, she didn't have no problems. So what makes mine any different? Joining us now to dive a little bit more into this case, how this sentencing could play out, is Melba Pearson, former prosecutor, civil rights and criminal law attorney, and the host of your Resident Legal Diva here on YouTube. Always great to have you on Law and Crime. I know these stories are not easy to talk about, but I do think they're important just because they unfortunately happen so often in so many homes across the country. This one, you just have a dad who just seems to have lied straight up to law enforcement about what happened. But of course, you see, what medical records can determine. Just what stood out to you and just how this case was built up by the authorities?
Well, first of all, what stood out to me is the fact that this poor child should still be with us today. There's no reason that this child should not be playing and living their best lives and enjoying childhood rather than being in the grave. So I just want to center the victim. Because that to me is critical. But I think, just in the way that this all has played out, I mean, clearly this is someone who did not have parenting skills, who did not even understand the basics of, you have a tiny child whose body is still developing, their skull is not fully formed. So
Okay, I got to pipe in here. If you're not ready to be a parent, don't be a parent. If you're not ready to pay the price, don't lay your ass down and make a baby. If you can't take care of a child, don't have one. I'm sorry it sounds rude, but I'm sick of seeing innocent children die because parents lack parenting skills. You know what? Then don't have them. You can't drive a car. You don't go get a license. You have to have a license for that. You don't drive. This is ridiculous. Look at this baby's face. My God, no, absolutely not. I have no sympathy for her. And for her to say her parenting skills, nobody is born with perfect parenting skills. You got to love your child enough to learn and be better each day. This lady can just take this somewhere else.
Impact has such grave results, as we saw with this child having a traumatic brain injury, commonly known as TBI. So, just seeing this is heartbreaking. It's disturbing, but of course, it also really puts the importance of all of us being vigilant, because he didn't just beat this child this way for the first time. This is something that had been ongoing. The EMTs had said that it was clear the child had bruises that have healed and all of that. So this child has endured violence, did endure violence for a while.
Okay, then it's obvious that the child has endured violence for a while. So the mom still what? Just didn't have parenting skills and didn't stop it? I call BS. Sorry.
So for us as neighbors, as, teachers, or, moving about the community, neighbors, when you see a child who doesn't look right, you may be saving that child's life by calling authorities rather than, I don't want to get involved. And then now, the guilt of maybe I could have done something to prevent a tragedy.
And it seems like, certainly from the boy's biological mom, who I know lives out of state from Indiana, but she says she alerted DCS. So, she, which is the Indiana agency, much like DCF, social services, and she claims that this was completely missed and something could have been done. I always think of the story that the medical records can tell in a case like this, because you have this dad who tried to actually blame it on his son, which speaks a lot to him, right? Like, it speaks a lot to him that, he's the victim. Oh my God, my son has behavioral issues. But then thankfully medicine's gotten to the point where you can determine.
I will state a TBI is a very hard situation for any parent to handle. You do get rage, you get impulsiveness, you get lots of things, but this is a child. With the right therapy and the right patience and love could have saved this child.
Science can determine that just is not true. Like, as a prosecutor, how important is it that the autopsy be able to push against any sort of narrative inside the house? Because the boy is not here to tell his story, and he's too young, even had he survived, to truly probably tell what the full extent of what's happening. But you have the words of one person is accused of murder and one person is actually admitted to it in open court.
Well, the autopsy is critical. I always look at that as the silent witness, because the medicine doesn't lie. Science does not lie, right? Sadly, people do. But science does not have an opinion. It is basically like, this is what the body presents. And I don't mean to be insensitive when I say the body, but when talking about it in the autopsy, frame of mind, it's the body that's speaking, and it's the body that's telling the medical examiner what happened, how this child died, if there were underlying medical conditions. Was this an accident? Was this a homicide? Was this suicide? That is all something that the medical examiner determines when they're going through their examination. And as a prosecutor, you need to understand every single angle of it to really make sure that you can adequately communicate to the jury, okay, this is why what the defense is saying does not hold water in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, the medical examiner will testify at trial if the stepmother goes to trial. But again, you have to be very in command of those facts to be able to explain it to the jury and bring them home to a guilty. a family member, mother, someone like that being like, listen, you need to take responsibility for what happened, or just, maybe being haunted, by his child's cries, because that's something he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. So, again, maybe just that overwhelming guilt caused him to plead guilty, which again, I'm glad he did from the standpoint of, based on the evidence, it seemed pretty clear he did it. And rather than waste court time and resources and having a jury come to have to be traumatized listening to all of this, at least he's taking responsibility. And now it's up to the judge to decide whether or not they're going to take that guilty plea into consideration, because basically what he did here was plea open to the court, basically throwing himself on the mercy of the court. So the court can still give him the maximum if they still so choose, but the court can also be like, you know what, you pled guilty, you're taking responsibility. All right, I'll take 10 years off of the maximum, and will be your sentence.
Well, I pray to God the judge does not say that. You pled guilty, let's take 10 years off your sentence. How about you took the life of your child, let's just take yours and spend the rest of yours in prison. That sounds like more of an adequate, uh I don't have, this is ridiculous. 10 years off his sentence because because he admitted that he's evil? Get out of here with that. No.
Does a defense attorney have any idea when you make the decision to have your client do that and just say, look, he's pleading guilty, here he is? Any idea of what a judge could give them? I mean, clearly in this case, he's charged with killing a young child. So it's how much can even saying you're very sorry about it in court actually help any sort of sentence or situation. But typically in these cases, when you do this type of plea, does a defense attorney have any inkling on how a judge could, based off of going that direction, sentence a client?
They may have an inkling, but they would be irresponsible to tell the client. And the reason, and I'm saying this because you can never guarantee an outcome. As a defense attorney, when you're speaking with your client, you're like, this is the universe of options. This is the minimum. This is the maximum. It could be anywhere in between. You don't want to ever be in a position like, oh yeah, you're definitely going to get 15 years if you did not actually negotiate that said deal. If it's just, well, I know this judge and I think it'll be X, that becomes very dangerous territory, because you don't want to promise one thing, the judge does something different, and now the defendant comes back and appeals saying, listen, I was told by my attorney I would get this, and now I got something else. So that would be, that would be very dangerous. Now, again, the attorney can suggest and be like, listen, maybe if you do this, you may not get the maximum, but I can't guarantee it. That would be the best thing for them to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when a child loses their life, things need to be taken a bit more. It all needs taken more seriously. This is ridiculous. But I'll move on to the next case because, guys, I get wound up. I apologize for my passion, but when little kids lose their life because of bad parenting, I get a little pissed, considering the closest thing to heaven is a child. It's ridiculous. This child abuse stuff we see constantly has to stop. And it's time we talk to our kids. We talk to our kids about the evil. No more sheltering them. We can't shelter our kids. We need to show them the evil in this world. As sad and as scary as it is, if we don't, society will. And we don't need that for sure. Before I move on to the next one, I do want to say, if you are in a national domestic violence hotline situation, please save yourself. You don't want to save yourself and you got kids? Save your children. You can call 1-800-799-7233. You cannot call. You can't. You're in danger. You need to text the word begin, all capital letters, to 88788. Come on, guys. You're worth it. Your life's worth it. More importantly, your kids are worth it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Sorry, guys. Like I said, my passion's strong here. So a different side of me will come out tonight. When babies die, I have a serious problem with it. We've got to stop this evil.
Take it like. The ambulance is right here. I don't know what's going on.
This is 20-year-old Kayla Hamilton. This man is her boyfriend, Enrique, and he's come home to find her on the floor, tied up by her wrists. She won't wake up.
You see this ligature marks?
Yeah.
So
I just coming from my job. I don't know what's going on.
Enrique says he was at work when he received an unsettling voicemail from Kayla. The police believe it contains the moment of her death.
Who's this?
It's her. She called me, but I don't know what's going on.
What time did she call you?
Hang on to that 1 second.
What time did she call you?
11.
11 a.m.
Yes.
She's so weird. It's weird. Really bad.
Enrique can't understand how this has happened. When he left Kayla that morning, she was full of life, with no idea of the horrors to come.
Somebody come and kill her, really. I don't know.
Is Enrique telling the truth? Has a stranger broken in and murdered his girlfriend? Or is there something else going on? And the case will only get stranger when police learn it might be connected to the infamous and deadly MS-13 gang. Here on the Decoder, with a deep dive into police body cam and interview footage, this is the chilling story of the death of Kayla Hamilton. The city of Aberdeen barrier is a significant problem for the cops. Spanish is the first language of most of the house's residents.
Ask them if she has a mail or driver's license and any information.
She don't have any.
What's her relationship to you? No English? What's that? A little bit English? Okay. Does he speak English?
We've already pronounced yours. I'm sorry to break it to you. Okay.
Está muerta.
Do you have an ID?
Yeah. I'm sorry, buddy.
I'm sorry.
Do you have Spanish speaking?
Not one right now.
It makes notifying them of Kayla's death even more difficult.
Is that your sister?
It's my girlfriend, my fiance.
Your fiance?
Yes.
What's her name?
Kayla.
Kayla.
Yeah. Kayla Marie Hamilton.
Like anything, like any kind of heart problems, any kind of brain
No.
problems.
She got autism, PTSD, something like this.
She has PTSD.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she's normally. So
Okay, so major question: does she take medication for her PTSD?
Were they? No, he didn't. Okay.
yeah, my son told me that.
When we found her, her hands were bound.
Yeah, my son.
Okay. What time did you guys find her?
What I?
Yeah, right before you called? Either one of you.
Oh, it's for now, maybe 10 minutes. That's for me. I can't come here. Maybe
10 minutes?
Maybe 15 minutes. I'm here.
Okay. And what were her hands bound by? Rope?
Yeah.
It's, okay.
None of them can believe what's happened to Kayla.
You see? You see? And right here, somebody do that, bro. Damn, man. ¿Por qué?
They're asking why. Why would someone do this?
You can't do nothing. You can do anything.
You can't touch her or anything right now.
Can't touch her.
I touch her.
We know. But
She got friends who are from Norfolk, Virginia, or something like this. But I don't know. Not much.
And these residents are getting impatient.
What are we doing? I need to go over that home now. Just my wife, my.
I honestly don't feel like the boyfriend has anything to do with this. I don't know why. He's just not giving me all the red flags that I would expect the boyfriend to give. He may know who's done this, but I don't see him doing it. But I could be wrong. I'm watching with you guys, so we'll see.
Just give me a moment to get the medical examiner here. That way she can get the green light on me. It's a little while longer, okay?
I know. It's just not going to be too much longer, hopefully.
Oh, the guy over here, he use hat, like
Always a hat.
red, something.
Red hat.
Yeah. I don't remember.
How tall is he?
Huh?
You know how tall he is?
Like me.
Censored by the police department because he's only 16 at the scene.
Possible suspect. Right over there.
Like right around the corner.
You can tell this officer is definitely he is definitely not a rookie. He knew that the suspect would probably return to the scene of the crime, and he spotted a guy at the end of the corner just staring, and that's his first instinct, and he's probably right that this guy is probably the one, and he had to come back because that's what they do.
Nearby the crime scene,
Possible suspect. Right over there.
Where?
Like right around the corner.
Jesus Christ. What?
Yeah. I think it's the it might be the roommate or something that they found. I don't know.
Can you hear it?
Hmm?
Can you hear it?
Oh yeah, a little bit. They have somebody detained, right? They're actually so they just found a potential suspect right down the street. So that's where all the detectives are right now.
Okay,
I'm gonna catch up with. Yeah, I was gonna say. Transfer over to my truck. Just take him over, back over the truck. He's going back to your truck. Back in the truck. Yep. Says in your pockets. Any weapons? Knife. No hablo inglés. I got you. Did you already search him? Yeah. Okay. He's good.
young.
this unknown male, whose face has been censored by the police department because he's only 16 at the time, doesn't speak a word of
Oh, well,
English,
that explains.
and it's not initially clear what he's been arrested for, only that the detectives know a killer often returns to the scene of the crime.
Okay, I don't have
His name is Addison McCad.
Okay.
But
He,
it was
all
a
he had
return.
was like an employment ID. So if you could work on that, getting a
Yeah.
positive.
Through a number of tests, such as getting wet, which often means carrying out a violent crime, whether murder of a rival gang member or a targeted victim. Number 2, ritualistic sacrifices. There have been cases where, to prove themselves, recruits or existing members are asked to commit horrific acts of violence, sometimes described as sacrifices to the gang's dark reputation. In some accounts, a beast or satanic entity. These initiations are a way to ensure the member is completely committed to the gang's ethos of kill, control, and to make it almost impossible for them to leave, as the only way out is often death. Could Kayla, living in a Salvadorian immigrant community, have somehow become mixed up in gang politics? Walter, having so little English, the police arranged for a translator to be present in their interview that night, or rather early the next morning, since they don't sit down until after 3 a.m. Notice how the detective keeps his own.
I am going to speed this up just a little bit because their interrogations like go on forever and ever and ever. And they kind of get straight to the point, I'm sure. I mean, they had the guy sitting here. It can't go much further than this, I would assume. If it gets too much, guys, just let me know. I'll try to fix it. But at this point, if we go on just normal speed, we will be here until Christmas.
Tattoos uncovered throughout the interview to establish trust, a special interview technique for these situations.
Explain to him what this is, and then have him just write his name out here, just like we normally do, and have him read each line and initial. All right, my name is Detective Shokestall. I'm a detective with the Aberdeen Police Department. Our discussion, or us talking today, is going to be audio and visually recorded on the 2 cameras up there and this little camera right here. Okay. Do you have any idea why we brought you here to the police station today?
Not really. No, I was surprised to be brought here.
How long have you been in the United States?
About 3 or 4 months.
And do you remember where you came into the United States?
To Texas.
The Texas border.
Yeah.
Did you have family up here in Maryland, or how did you get here to Aberdeen?
Yes.
In what part?
Here in Aberdeen and Frederick.
Okay, you have family here and in Frederick?
Yeah.
Okay.
He says his brother lives just a few streets away from his house, which the cops verify to be true. But this interview will reveal that he's far from a family man. When they ask where he lives, he gives them Kayla's address, proving what they already suspected, that he's the missing roommate.
And how long have you lived at that address?
Look, I think about a week.
Okay.
And so I'm staying as a relative.
Okay, from El Salvador?
Like my stepfather is like family to them.
Okay.
Walter tells them he works as a packer in a warehouse. The job is essentially cash in hand, which is vital since he's only 16 and also undocumented.
And well, yeah, my family is poor and all. We don't have a way to pay him. The coyote sent word that if I didn't send him money, he was going to go shoot down my uncle's doors.
When does he usually work? Like what days, what time?
From sometimes I start at 2. I get off around 8, 9.
2 in the afternoon and 9 at night?
Yes.
And from Monday to Friday?
No, sometimes I only work 3 or 4 days.
3 or 4 days?
I don't work much.
Who else do you live with there on 3rd? Who stays in that house?
So it's me and, like, I think there are about 6 of us who actually live there. I mean, if I remember correctly.
6 people?
Yes.
So it's you and who else?
2 girls, a young child, and 2 more girls all together.
6 people, to include Kayla and her boyfriend.
While living there, have either of the 2 couples invited you into their room, or have you gone into their room, one of the couples?
No.
So they've never invited you into their rooms?
No, I've only gone to knock on their door like that when they have clothes in the washer so I can do my laundry.
Okay.
But nothing more.
Right, so they've never invited you, or you haven't gone into their room without their permission?
No.
Do you know the names of all the people living there with you, besides Augustin?
No.
You don't know the 2 girls and the other guy who...
No, sorry.
Have you talked to or hung out with Kike's girlfriend?
No, it's just that I don't like to with women who are taken like that, because too many problems.
According to Walter, he took little notice of Kayla in the brief time that they lived together. She was just another roommate.
You never entered Kike's room, or with this girl Kayla, or even alone?
No, I've just arrived like that. I haven't gone inside like that.
Okay. Do you know how Kike's relationship was with his girl? How did they treat each other?
No, I've just heard the girl crying inside sometimes. But other than that, nothing else. I like to mind my own business and stay out of other people's lives.
Again, he insists he keeps himself to himself, while also casting suspicion on Enrique or Kiki as a possible suspect.
And was Queek at the house? Where was Queeky?
No, he was at work.
He's casting the net wide, also saying
I'm sure you guys noticed. He's nervous. He's got those knees knocking. Knees knocking, arms crossed. Arms crossed means he's protecting something. His knees going 90 to nothing is, well, he very well could be guilty. And he's getting a little nervous now because they're asking the hard stuff, which thank God they are.
he saw a strange white guy in her room.
He understands that people in the neighborhood talk. Have you heard any rumors about Kike's girlfriend?
Yeah. No.
Can you walk me through your day-to-day from when you got up this morning until the time he came looking for you?
This morning, I woke up around 8.
You got up at 8?
And then I went ahead and made some food for myself.
He made some breakfast?
I left it in the room. It was just a snack.
Okay. He left the food in his room.
A plate of eggs with 2 tortillas. From there, I went for a walk for a bit, and then I came back. I went to get some cold water.
What time did you leave?
Many details.
Leave time?
Around 9 or 10, something like that.
Did you leave at noon?
Yeah, but since I don't have the time, the phone works, but it doesn't work right.
Okay, so you went out with your brother at 12?
Yeah, around then, something like that. I can't tell you if it was 11 or 12 because I didn't see the time.
So did you and your brother go out to eat?
We went to see if they were buying a computer.
Okay, what store did you go to?
To Amazon, something like that it's called. But no.
Did you go to a store?
But we went to 2. We went to 2 at the second one we went to.
What was the first store?
I don't really know the names, but my brother definitely knows them.
And this was between 11 and 12 in the morning?
Between one of those hours.
So about between 11 and 12.
Maybe it's a translation issue, or maybe he's changing the story to try to give himself an alibi.
I bought some earrings.
A beverage?
No, earrings for the ears. This one was already pierced, and I did this one.
Oh, okay.
The last store we went to.
And where's that store?
I don't know its name.
Is it here in Aberdeen or is it outside Aberdeen? Where is it?
I don't know Aberdeen very well, to be honest.
Okay, so you bought the earrings, and then what happened?
What?
After you bought the earrings, what happened? What else did you do?
What else did I do? Well, we came back with my brother.
At what time? Huh? At what time?
It must have been like 2:30 because my brother went to work then. It was almost 3 already.
Okay.
And I came home, left the things, and went out to the hallway.
Between 2:30 and 3?
Mm-hmm. I went out of the house in the hallway and put on my earring, pierced my ear.
Okay, I thought you said Kevin was going to work.
Yeah?
I thought you said Kevin was going to work.
Sorry?
He brought you back, right? You returned at 2:30, between 2 and 3, because Kevin had to go to work.
Yeah. Then I left the food inside, put some water in the fridge, 2 bottles of water to cool, and then I went back out and pierced my ear.
And then what else?
And then I left.
Where'd you go?
I walked around the park. I walked all over the place, man. I like to walk a lot.
How much time were you there in the park?
I was there for approximately an hour and a half or 2.
And then Walter has a question of his own regarding his living situation.
And I had a question for him. I don't know if I'll be able to keep living in the same room.
Why do you ask? Why? Why the question?
No, because I don't know if you or someone else told me that supposedly the girl was dead.
I don't remember. Who told you?
A policeman. I don't know if it was you or someone else.
Okay.
I asked him, and that's why I'm asking, because I wouldn't want to be in danger there.
He doesn't yet know why the cops have picked him up. Is this an honest inquiry or diverting suspicion? They lead him back to the events of this morning.
The room, the door to Kike's room, was it open or was it closed?
Why would I lie to you? I didn't notice.
Toby, were you at the house when the police started arriving?
No, I wasn't.
But he was walking in the nearby vicinity, meaning that he could have been carrying Kayla's phone when it pinged at 4 p.m.
How did you find out the police were at your house?
Oh, when I arrived, I saw the police and I went to ask the lady who rents to me.
It'll take more than just suspicious behavior to implicate him in Kayla's death. They'll need evidence.
I'll take his pictures of his hands and chest and body face, nothing like no nudity or anything. And then we got our crime scene.
The detective asks if he saw Kayla this morning.
Kike's girlfriend, did you see her today?
Oh, yeah.
What time did you see her?
As soon as I woke up in the morning.
When you woke up, you saw her at what time?
Huh?
What time?
It was around 8 when I woke up. It was around 8.
When you saw her, where was she?
Leaving the room. She was going to the living room.
Leaving the room? She was going to the living room?
She was going to the living room.
And what were you doing?
Yeah.
And what were you doing?
I was starting to do the laundry.
So she came out of her room to the living room. You were washing your clothes.
Yes.
And then where did she go?
To the room.
But the thing is,
after that, I didn't see her again.
Then Walter turns the conversation back to the white guy he claims to have seen 2 days ago.
And that guy you're telling us about, did he look like he used drugs or not?
He kind of looked like he smoked marijuana, you know?
Okay.
Otherwise, he maintains his story. He saw Kayla briefly just once in the morning and never again. And he doesn't even know her name.
If you guys say there's no problem with me living there, I'll keep living there.
Danger from the traffickers he owes money. He's enrolled in a high school, which he's soon forced to leave following behavioral problems. And 6 months after Kayla's killing, the DNA results finally come back. That DNA is a match for none other than Walter Martinez. He assaulted and murdered Kayla and claimed he didn't even know her name. He's arrested on January 15th, 2023. And while he's in custody, he sends a letter to a pastor back in El Salvador trying to confess his sins, not realizing that all mail in and out of jail is vetted. In the letter, he admits to 4 murders and 2 alongside other unspecified crimes.
The letter that we received from the Harper County Detention Center, where the defendant made the admissions that we spoke about in our press release, that was really what changed the course of this in order to sort of transition this from a trial to a plea.
With a written confession and evidence, there's no escaping what he's done. On August 21st, 2024, Walter pleads guilty to murder in the first degree. At his sentencing hearing, Kayla's mother reads out a statement.
That was really what changed the course of this in order to sort of transition this from a trial to a plea.
With a written confession and evidence, there's no escaping what he's done. On August 21st, 2024, Walter pleads guilty to murder in the first degree. At his sentencing hearing, Kayla's mother reads out a statement.
Her hopes, dreams, and goals were shattered and taken from her on July 27, 2022, through the evil actions of the defendant, Walter Martinez.
He is sentenced to 70 years in prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation, when he will almost certainly be deported, if he's still alive. Because he was a minor at the time of the killing, Maryland law prohibited a sentence of life without parole.
I knew in the beginning that it wasn't his first crime. Nobody commits their first crime this horrific and this evil. I had a feeling he did it before.
At the sentencing hearing, the voicemail Kayla left Enrique at the moment of her death is played. He was wrong about the voice on it. There weren't 2 men, just one. And that man was Walter Martinez. Prosecutors believe the sound at the end of the recording was him apologizing in Spanish for what he'd done. Too little, too late. Kayla's family files a $100 million wrongful death lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security for allowing Walter into the country in the first place, knowing he had an MS-13 tattoo and registered gang affiliation.
Of course, you guys know why I ended it there, because I'm not bringing politics in any of this. This is about victims, not about politics. I don't give a damn who anybody voted for. It is what it is. We have problems we have to take care of. Our country needs order. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do. But let's go ahead and move on to the next case because it's just as important as both of these. Terrible. Guys, trigger warning. It doesn't get any better. It honest to God doesn't. Let me refresh it real quick so we don't have those little hookups there that we get. Okay.
Developmental delays. They transformed their home into a supportive sanctuary, complete with therapy rooms and a structured routine. Bird and Melanie were hailed as local heroes for their adoption efforts. Back at the scene, police moved the kids to April's house. Shortly thereafter, April called Ashley Markham, Melanie's biological daughter, and informed her that she needed to get to her parents' house urgently. April then called Justin Billings, Bud Billings' adopted son. Ashley and Justin arrived on the scene. After being informed of his parents' death, Justin offered to show investigators how to obtain the surveillance footage from the home. The system, intended to monitor the children, appeared to have captured the attack. Detectives viewed what they could at the scene and had a computer technician make copies to review at the station. As the coroner and crime scene technicians begin working the scene, family and friends of the Billings are brought to the sheriff's office for interviews.
We appreciate you coming in.
Well, anything to help. Anything at all.
You drove your truck down here, is that yours?
Yes, sir, that's my truck.
Cool. And you can leave any time, right?
I'm here until justice is found.
Well, hopefully we're on the right track. You assisted in trying to, identify the car, vehicle, and was helping us with the video and everything. What we got, you picked up. I just want to look at this and.
Yeah, that's the vehicle. You want to in the video?
That's a video at your house?
Mm-hmm.
Are your mom and dad's house?
Mm-hmm. Put the windows right down.
You did say that, didn't you?
I paid attention to detail. I went to military school.
What did you do after you graduated high school?
I went to college. I went to Wentworth Military Academy in
where's that located?
Lexington, Missouri.
Missouri, okay.
But I was there maybe 3 months and I didn't like it. So I asked my dad if it was okay for me to come home. And if he'd be mad at me, he goes, no, if that college isn't for you, just come home, go to PJC.
As the case goes on, and we'll have to talk to you more.
Oh,
we learn different things.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Does that make any sense? So don't feel uncomfortable.
I know, sir.
And again, I want to make sure you know you came here on your own free will.
Yes, sir.
And you can leave.
Yes, sir.
Anytime you understand that.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear everything about tells us the truth and nothing but the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's start again on Thursday night.
Yes, sir.
The night. You and Greg were together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess let's start there.
You
were together all day?
Yes,
let's
sir.
start at the beginning of the day. I'm talking about from 8 a.m.
We didn't wake up until about 10.
Where were y'all at?
At his parents' house. We were house sitting because his parents were out of town.
Okay.
I went over to his grandparents' house, borrowed the vehicle because he had some job applications that he wanted to apply for.
Borrowed what vehicle?
Ford Explorer.
What color?
Like a dark maroon color.
Is it their parents?
It's his grandparents.
Okay.
We borrowed it. We went directly to the mall and he applied at 2 or 3 stores there. Then we went to the Nissan dealership. He applied there. We started looking around at cars. We were there for a while looking at the new Nissan GTR. And then we went back to his grandparents' house, dropped the vehicle off, went back over to his parents' house, watched a movie, got a call from his grandparents saying, dinner's ready, come on over and eat.
What movie did you watch?
Window, like the passenger vans, that somebody could open it before me and had those things cut in it in glass plates, which makes it very distinctive. There's no other van like that.
You sold that van on Craigslist, right?
I had it listed on Craigslist. I listed it one day and sold it the next.
Okay.
I listed it for $300 because I wanted to get rid of it.
Today, you were reading the Pensacola News Journal, July 11, 2009. Is that right?
That is correct.
And you saw a photograph in the paper, right?
I did.
And it was related to a murder that the sheriff's office in Escambia County is investigating.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
You recognize that picture?
Yes, sir, I did. What really set it off for me is I saw that gray primer paint back there by the rear wheel, and I saw that right back there where that window doesn't go all the way back, as you'll see on the pictures I provided you.
There was something distinctive about the front grille too, right?
It's chrome, which most of those weren't. That is the newer grill, at least it looks like in that picture, the newer grill that the 89 had instead of the 82. And then I looked in the book, I found my documents that had the VIN number on it. I want to make sure I had everything right before I called the sheriff's department.
Describe the female that responded to your Craigslist.
As I remember, her name was Terry Poff. I was going to say about 50 or so. My wife said she thought she might have been a little bit older. She was short, I want to say 5'3" or so. She was heavy. She wasn't, morbidly obese, but she was heavy. Maybe she weighed 160 pounds or so. And she had blonde hair about shoulder length, and it was not natural blonde. The lady who bought the car, Terry, stated that, as I remember, that the vehicle was for her son and his family because Their car had either just been repossessed or was going to be repossessed. And he had a lot of kids. I think he said he had 6 kids.
Investigators then tracked down Terry Poff.
Okay, Ms. Poff, if you would just hear about the Dodge van that you purchased a while back. Can you tell us about that?
Okay, I purchased a Dodge van that I got off Craigslist from a gentleman in South Breeze for $300. First, it came out on Craigslist because I thought it would be an appropriate vehicle for my son and his family since they have such a large family, knowing that their car is about to be repossessed. My son took the van to a mechanic, which has been at this mechanic's ever since he picked it up. To my knowledge, he hasn't driven the van except to drive it to the mechanic. I haven't seen it parked in his driveway. His wife is not able to drive the van, but she's not able to drive a stick, and she's pregnant. And so, as far as I know, he hasn't driven the van except to the mechanic. I don't know who the mechanic is.
What's your son's name?
Patrick Gonzalez.
Okay, and he lives here in Gulf Breeze?
Yes.
Detectives made contact with Terry's son, Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr. He escorted them to the van at his father's trailer home on Palm Court. Police brought Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Sr. and Jr. to the station for an interview. Meanwhile, investigators received permission from Sr.'s wife, Carol Brandt, to search and photograph the property and the red van. The interior of the trailer is well worn. However, one item stuck out, a new shoebox. With Carol's permission, a detective collected the shoebox. Based on the van matching the one in the surveillance footage, detectives obtained a search warrant and towed the vehicle to the station for processing. At the station, Patrick Gonzalez Jr. agreed to speak with detectives, while Leonard Gonzalez Sr. refused.
Roger, what? Fight back. What is that? We provide kidnap prevention, abduction awareness training to children and women. Martial arts? Well, more awareness. And we teach several countermeasures and defensive tactics. Most times someone gets touched, it's an acquaintance. It's someone they know. Rarely does a stranger come and attack somebody. So we teach about the red flag characteristics of an acquaintance. Someone touches me in a way that makes me feel bad, I tell someone I trust. Awareness stuff, empowerment stuff. You can do anything you put your mind to. I talked to them about my background, my past. I'm sure you saw a lot on me, so I've come a long way. We just got the service to mankind award from Mr. Film Club. Yeah. My wife and I did. Yeah. We trained 20,000 kids in the last 2 years.
And we appreciate you coming here today.
Whatever I can do. I don't, believe me, when I saw the pictures on the TV, I was like, damn, and I know the guy, so I'm thinking,
what guy?
The guy that this is about that thing in Beulah, right? That's what my mom told me.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You saw the picture of the van on TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your van.
Excuse me?
That picture is the same van that's in your yard, right?
Similar. Very similar to that van, but no, it's not. It can't be the same van. It's not the same van.
Okay. Why is that?
Because it can't be the same van. I mean, that van it's been over there. I mean, it couldn't have.
It's been your dad's place?
Yeah.
Then you know about the death investigation. You know about Mr. Bud?
Yes.
Okay. I guess we'll start. How do you know him?
I've known him, about 2 years ago. He made a donation to a project like that.
What do you mean by donation?
He gave us $5,000.
$5,000?
Project Fight Back, huh?
He said, that's what you're doing.
Noted.
That's how you met him?
Yep.
What happened from there?
I've been spoken with him or seen him in a couple of years.
In a couple of years?
I went to Cab and asked him for some money and to see if I could get some money for the studio and for projects like that. And he said he might know someone that'll make a donation. And originally I was hoping he would be a business partner, but he said, I can't do that. He said, I will do this. And he freaking gave us $5,000 like it was nothing. Here you go. Just like that. First time anyone's ever done that. The thing is, I even told him I'd come train him and his family and everything. That's why I'm just like blown away by the whole thing. I told him I teach him defensive tactics. Man.
So you met him through Cab?
Mm-hmm. I met him the first time and then I came in and that's when he gave me the money. Because I gave him a proposal about Project Fight Back and everything and information. I mean, he's very security conscious. In his office, he's got monitors where he can see everything in his house all the time. I mean, this guy was well prepared. I was surprised this went down like this without a shootout or something,
What made you get interested in martial arts?
Been training since I was 4 years old, my entire life.
Oh, you've done it forever?
Yeah, my whole life. I mean, that's what I do.
That's your van, all right?
No. That's not mine.
That's not your van?
Looks something like it. You know what?
Okay, as much as I did not want to make this political, I did just look up Project Fight Back. Project Fight Back refers to various initiatives aimed at defending civil rights and combating police that have threatened democracy. The Legal Defense Fund, LDF, is actively fighting against the Trump administration implementation of Project 2025. Now, Project 2025 is a proposed agenda by MAGA Republicans that seeks to grant the president unchecked power, potentially harming civil rights and freedoms. So the Fight Back program, this Fight Back project, focuses on educating and empowering individuals to take action against perceived threats to civil rights and democracy, including all of the above, meaning additionally, they provide training in abduction awareness, self-defense, aiming to empower individuals in their communities, including ones that would have to fight back with police. Just saying, that's what that is. You can look this up. Actually, I can put this I will save this and I will put this in the description, but that's exactly what that is. And that's kind of where I thought this was going, which I did not want to make this political, but it is what it is. Let's continue.
Yeah, it is. It is. We were going to paint it. But yeah, it might have been when we first got it. It was kind of like that. Look at that. That's a heck of a lot like it. That is not the same thing. That's not the same van. Okay. If I was going to do something, or anybody that I know would do something, I would not let them do it in my van. When did she buy it? About a month ago. Did she buy it from? I don't know, some guy on Craigslist.
Were you looking for a van or something?
Something big enough to carry everybody and to carry mats and stuff like that.
For your business?
Mm-hmm. And for my family, I've got 6 kids.
You did?
Yeah, 6 boys and 1 boy.
All of them probably know martial arts.
Everyone. But anyway, there were some problems with it, and I took it to my dad. He said he'd fix it. We were going to paint it. I was going to touch it up a little bit. I touched up some of the crap, but it's a piece. But he said he'll work on it, so I think he's probably going to keep it. So
what's wrong with
it? When you try to shift it, because like the whole thing knocks back on you when you shift, and like the heater doesn't work, the AC doesn't work, it squeals real loud. I mean, just a bunch of stuff, a bunch of things. I mean, the thing's not in good running condition.
When's the last time you drove it?
A month ago.
You haven't drove it in a month?
Mm-hmm. So on Wednesday I tried to, we were going to try to take it around the block.
You only met Bud twice?
Yes.
And that was at his office?
At his office.
Which is where?
Right around the corner from the jail. I think it's on Old Palafox or Pace or something like that.
The first time you gave him the packet?
Yeah, information on DFB. And then
the second time he said, look, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm not into the karate business, I'm in the car business, but I'll be happy to make a donation. And he said, wham, just like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Are y'all going through the same kind of question with everybody that's got one like that? Because I've seen like 2 other vans just like that one.
Pretty much.
Good, good. Don't say, go, man, don't. I got nothing to hide.
Anything we see like that get pulled over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that one, I mean, y'all can welcome to take it, inspect it, drive it if you can, whatever, I'm open to whatever we got to do to work it out.
I appreciate you working with us. That's all we're doing, man, is trying to get this solved.
Yeah. I mean, I hope you do. The guy had, like 15 kids, or the woman. That's the thing that really gets me. I mean, if it were like first of all, I'm wondering why nobody got shot. You know what I mean? That's what I'm wondering. Because Bird used to carry a gun. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering why he didn't. Yeah, I watch Law and Order, so I mean, I understand everything going on, so I'm fine with it. As long as I'm not guilty, I'm fine. So I'm easy, whatever.
You ever been to his house?
No, never been.
Did you know where he lived?
I knew he lived over there in Beulah.
Did he tell you?
Yeah.
Have you let anybody borrow him?
No, he's been sitting in my dad's house.
So your dad lives at this address on Concord?
Yeah, that's where he lives. I live in Gulf Breeze.
Okay. How often you stay over there?
Stay over there? I don't stay over there. I come over there and visit occasionally.
You and your wife still together?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. 6 kids, you just about got to stay with them.
No, actually, we have number 7 on the way.
That's good. That's even better reason to stay with them.
Yeah.
Thursday, which will be the 9th of last week. What were you doing?
Just running around, taking care of errands. Talked to my dad about the estate. Went by a buddy's house.
What do you mean talking about the estate?
My grandmother just passed away.
Oh.
So I went over there and talked to him about that. I know that it was Thursday because that was the day that he got all pissed off at me. So.
Your dad did?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because he gets to bed at like 6, and I got there a little bit later than what he wanted me to get there. So
what time did you get
there? 6:45, 6:30, something like that.
What did you drive when you got there? What were you driving?
My truck.
Truck you're driving now?
Mm-hmm.
The Expedition?
Mm-hmm. Chatted with him for a while. Talked about the estate. He's really sketchy. I mean, when you talk to him, you understand. He's got some serious issues. So don't take anything he says to, oh my God, this guy's a suspect, because he's just, the guy's got brain damage. You know that. I mean, I don't know if y'all know that. You will know that he's got brain damage, and he's so paranoid and believes that my aunt's trying to get him in trouble and all kinds of things and take all the family money that isn't really there and stuff like that. So we gotta go calm him down, show him all the stuff, all the paperwork. About 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that.
Say about 30 or 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then what'd you do?
Went home.
Did you stop anywhere?
I did. I was gonna go to my buddy Greg's house. I drove by that way, and no one was there.
Great.
And that's the way I went. I'm fine with everything. I mean, just, as long as no one's saying that he didn't. I don't believe that he would. First of all, he didn't do that. I know my dad. He's not capable of that.
Yesterday, there's a red van on the property. Is that correct?
Correct.
You verbally, with no strings attached, no pressure, no anything, gave me permission to search your trailer.
Yes. And
I'm the one that did that.
Yes.
And you gave me permission to search the shed.
Yes.
And the grounds around. And I thought you was getting a search warrant for the van.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you give me a little history of the van?
All I know is that Pat brought it over for Leonard to work on.
Pat is Pat who?
His son.
So Junior brought the van over.
Uh-huh.
When?
Oh, a good month ago.
And what was wrong with it that needed work?
Well, he wasn't real sure. It didn't crank right. I think Leonard mentioned one time the leakage had to be fixed. And a bunch of other stuff. I'm not a mechanical inclined, so I'm not sure at all. But he's been working on a little here, a little there. Leonard can't stay on one thing long enough because of his short-term memory loss.
Uh-huh.
So he has to fix things in stages.
Uh-huh. Where do they park it?
In the backyard.
In the backyard?
Yeah.
Where in the backyard?
Well, at one time it sat behind the wooden fence. And then they got around one day and took it out to see what it was doing. Brought it back in, but parked it in the middle of where I told the tow truck driver, I hope he doesn't fall in the stuff.
Oh, by the garden.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
what day that was?
Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next thing I knew, it was moved again.
Where was it?
Well, now we know where it was. It was behind the building and Leonard didn't park it there.
Who would have parked it there? Who was the only other person that would drove that van? If your husband didn't drive it, who else would drive it?
Either Pat or a friend of his that has a license. So
who would that be?
Wayne.
Wayne?
Wayne.
Wayne who?
I don't know his last name.
What does Wayne look like?
He has short blonde hair.
Short blonde hair?
Uh-huh. Maybe 5'7", maybe.
Uh-huh. When was the last time you saw Wayne?
Tuesday or Wednesday.
And the only thing I took was that box of boots.
his involvement in this case, and you are mentioned as being involved. We're giving you the opportunity here to kind of tell us what was going on with what's going on over there. Tell me what happened.
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Where were you the night that incident happened? Not at home. At home? And it was home with you?
My girlfriend.
Your girlfriend? Okay, so you were there with her the entire night? Yes. Okay. Do you know Leonard Patrick Gonzalez?
I know Leonard Gonzalez.
When was the last time you saw him?
A couple of days ago, moving stuff into a shed building.
Okay. The shed building over there at where
his trailer.
You're talking about senior?
Yes.
Okay.
Me and Pop.
Okay.
Do pressure washing together.
Okay. You were over there Tuesday or Wednesday? Were you over there Thursday too?
No, sir.
Okay. And where were you Thursday?
I was at home with my girlfriend.
Okay. Nice pretty day. You didn't work at all?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you go anywhere that day?
Just a store, cigarettes, whatever.
What store did you go to?
Probably BP or CVS.
You remember about what time of day it was you went over there?
Probably about 4. I don't know.
Sometime after.
I mean, it was sometime after.
And you do definitely recall buying some cigs?
I don't know which store I went to. My girlfriend could have went.
Other than the trip to possibly those 2 stores to get cigarettes, you went nowhere else?
No, sir.
Do you know his son at all?
I know him from being around his dad's house.
Okay. And what would you say your relationship is with him? Acquaintances or friends? Okay. Here's the thing. Leonard's already told us his involvement. Okay. That's why we're here talking to you. That's why we have arrest warrant for your arrest for murder. So your bond's $1 million. Okay. So we've already heard the story. Okay. Leonard told us everything laid out. Okay. Here's your opportunity to come in here and come clean on this and tell us exactly what happened in your version of events. And not only that, we don't know what's involved. Okay? I mean, maybe you can help us with that. Maybe you can tell us what happened. Okay. Well, my understanding is this was set up to be a robbery. Y'all went over there to rob this guy. That y'all got together and all headed over there to do this job together. Y'all went in separate vehicles. That he pulled up in front of that red van. You saw the red van that everybody's been talking about and looking for. I mean, that van's involved in a multiple homicide. I think I'd be a little nervous, right?
Yes.
Okay. And did you call Leonard up and say what's going on?
Nope.
Why?
Because I don't
be involved. I understand.
Like that.
It's a little past that. It's a little past that at this point. Okay. You're sitting here and just talking to you. I had to bring you down here. Okay. You and I are about the same age. Been around the block a few times.
Yes.
I say, probably your first rodeo ain't mine. But here's the deal. If you come in here and you tell me this story, you put this is all on your family here to back up your alibi. Maybe they'll sit down and lie for you, maybe they won't. I don't know. I haven't talked to them yet. I talked to them briefly there at the scene. You're pretty much putting all the pressure on these people to maintain your little story. Okay. Now, I ain't saying you're absolutely the one that did this, but I'm saying that somebody's saying you are. I don't know why you wouldn't. Your partner, right? Business partner, y'all work together.
I have nothing to do with it.
Obviously, he told us enough information. We felt comfortable enough, and so did the judge to put you here. Okay. As it stands right now, I don't think you want to go with leaving the statement as it is. Obviously, the van that we have was involved in this incident. We know that. We just got it yesterday. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we're going to process it for prints. We're going to look at all that kind of evidence. We're going to go back and certainly I want to be checking and seeing if you're at that house all day. I'll pull from BP and CVS all their sales and see if we can confirm that you went to the store, because that's a little early what we're looking at. You remember going anywhere else like that?
No, sir.
Okay.
How are you doing tonight? You're not doing fine. I appreciate you letting me spend about 5 minutes with you. And I'm safe for
Did you travel?
One was white, tall, I told you was here long here. And then there was another white one with a little cafe, bit by my height. The other 2 that I don't even remember.
Did they live for long?
No, all people that didn't perform that went out there was me, Raheem, and Gary.
So how many total were there?
6.
6 total, 6 person. I got Stalls or Keen.
And the other 2 I took out now.
The white man with long hair, a white man with a low cut fade, and you. Who's the other person?
Oh, no, I just
Okay, so it's a white man and a black man. Right. Okay. So there's 3 white males and 3 black males. Okay. And Gary's in the other man on the floor.
So I got out, and then Raheem stayed in there, and the other closed like this. So I stayed in there, and they went in there.
Where did they get out of it?
They got out of the house. Yeah, go to that house.
What house?
The dude's house, I'm going there. People take it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I went in the house or whatever. So I guess they said they were about some weed. So Raheem stayed in the truck. But then I said that, so that came out, and I think his name Patrick.
Patrick, so the other black man? The other man?
Yeah, right now. Yeah, I came over with a gun and was like, I killed him.
Did what?
And I was asking why he just like, I killed him. And it was like, if we tell anybody, that's what I really want to say that. I know I gotta say something. So it's not to me. But he said, if we say something, they can kill us. And one of them whole family.
Did they take anything from the house?
No, I didn't see anything.
Did you hear any gunshots?
Yeah, we heard
How many gunshots did you hear?
Probably about 6.
Did it all sound like it came from the same gun, or did it sound like it
Just one gun. And me and Raheem got out in the car with Gary. And we had love.
Now, which car did you get into?
The Explorer.
Did the Explorer pull the house with you guys?
No, we had the Explorer was at the house at Frank's house. We all had that there.
Where's Frank live?
I don't even know if it's
Okay, that's what, he was in Pensacola. Okay. And he was Frank was driving the van?
Yeah.
He owns Fifth Dimension. He's one of my husband's friends.
Okay. Did he leave the residence alone?
Well, yeah, he lives in the truck.
In the truck we just towed out here?
Yeah, that's the only car.
Okay. And then what time did he come back?
It was probably after 11, or maybe it was 10. I think it was 11. I can't remember.
Okay. And then after he came back, what happened?
I just got mad at him for being gone all day long.
Did you ask him where he had been?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said he was hanging out with Gary.
Hanging out with Gary.
And then I just went to sleep pissed off. I don't know what day it was. He said that he did something really bad and that he needed to be a man and own up to his actions. He was at work Sunday and he texted me and I'm like, what's going on? Because I thought he was having an affair anyways. I'm like, what's going on with you? Acting really funny. I'm thinking about filing for separation.
Okay.
And he was like, no, I'm gonna have to talk to you, And then he said, I was texting him and then he didn't text back for a while. He said, they just picked up G. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, something about G always gets picked up for a revoked license or a driving suspended license. And
Who's
then
G?
Gary, they call
Fifth Dimension?
Yeah, they call Gary G.
Okay.
Wendy said he did something, or they got kind of nervous.
Well, I'll tell you what, we woke up that morning early and the TV was on and they showing this, because I always put on Robin on CNN in the morning, and he sees these three white guys or two on TV, and he just like, his face changed. And I was like, wow, is this really affecting him like this? I mean, I know it's terrible. And he grabbed his face and he pulled his face down and he started rocking. He was like, I did something bad. And he said, I'm gonna lay down with the baby for a while. The baby's napping. I was like, you did something bad. And he was like, I know something about the stuff in Pensacola. And I fell to my knees and I went crazy and I beat the shit out of him. And I told him, you turn yourself in right now. You just turn yourself in right now. He's not going to talk to my mom and dad first so they can know that they need to help you when I'm gone. And he called his mom. She was at work. She works for the state of Alabama. And she didn't understand what he was saying. She couldn't comprehend it. And his mom and dad got down here as soon as they could. They told him to hold off on turning himself in because she was talking to, she has a lot of people, attorney friends, and they were trying to get him a lawyer because they didn't know the scope of it. And he just said, bye to the kids. He said, Daddy did something bad. And
to us, it's clear to me that we are probably going to charge you with accessory after the fact, if not other charges. Now, in terms of the evidence we have, we know that your van had the safe put in after the home invasion occurred. We know that based on what witnesses have told us. You were in the van, and it's important to us that we get the safe. There's other evidence that may implicate you as well. I'm not sure the extent to which the evidence in your house implicates you. You probably know more about that than we do. Your lawyers told me that you don't feel comfortable talking today, that he doesn't feel comfortable recommending that you talk. My purpose in meeting with you is to convince you that it is in your best interest to talk today. And I'm not going to absolutely positively rule out anything, but I'm not going to be in any mood then to talk to you at all.
Well, heard straight from the horse's mouth.
Well,
And then I'll let you say anything, Pam. Let me and her further discuss this and let me give her my best advice and we'll proceed forward.
I guess it's a bad mother. My son knows nothing about what had happened. I went to him and said, Casey, I want you to do me a favor. I said, Patrick and some guy showed up with this little safe and stashed it. And now there's a bunch of stuff in the news and I think he's gotten into some trouble. I don't know what all's happened, but I need to get that out of my possession of the house. So I asked him to bring it over to the house and I put the bricks on top of it because I just didn't know what else to do with it.
Your son Casey, how old is Casey?
He's 20.
Was the safe open anytime you saw it? It's been locked the whole time that you know of?
I didn't look at it that long. I saw these guys sit it in the container and locked it, and I took my key and left. And then I asked my son to go there and get it. He didn't even know about all the stuff I'm telling you. He had no idea about.
I would be interested because of the amount of money that was there. And I told him it wasn't worth that. I'm not interested in it. I've got a career. I got a woman that I love that loves me back.
And he was comfortable with you having knowledge of this and just declining the offer?
Yeah, I guess he thought he was going to change my mind or that.
The rest of Hugh's statement was consistent with what Pam said. The state attorney's office charged Pamela with accessory after the fact to a capital felony. Hugh Wiggins was not charged with any crime related to this case. Detectives determined that Henry Cab Tice was not involved in the robbery or homicide. He wasn't fond of Bud Billings, but he did not order a hit. Police found no evidence of misconduct by Bud Billings towards the children. Investigators determined that Patrick had sought assistance with disabling the Billings home surveillance system. A white male originally tasked with that role was identified, but he did not meaningfully participate in the crime. The mastermind, Patrick Gonzalez, maintained his innocence. After a 4-day trial, it took just 5 hours to reach a verdict.
You will please remain standing while your verdict will be published in a moment by the deputy clerk.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, publish the verdict, please.
Yes, sir. In the Circuit Court in and for Escambia County, Florida, State of Florida versus Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr. As to the charge in count 1, Bird Billings, we the jury find the defendant, Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr., guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. As to the charge in count 2, Melanie Billings, we the jury find the defendant, Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr., guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. As to the charge in count 3, we the jury find the defendant, Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr., guilty of home invasion robbery as charged in the indictment. During the course of committing home invasion robbery, did the defendant actually possess a firearm? Yes.
The following day was the sentencing.
I am not guilty of the charges that the media and the jury convicted me of. I believe that the truth will prevail in court. And also, every time those murders were splashed across the television, the internet, or magazines or newspapers, the Billings children and my children would be victimized again and again. I was confident that the prosecution's evidence or lack thereof will prove itself to be smoke and mirrors. The state produced a murder weapon that they were able to prove through forensic testimony fired every shot that killed the victims. They also proved through expert testimony that the gun had 4 different persons' DNA on it, none of which belonged to me, the defendant. No testimony linked the gun to me, the defendant. The state never produced any evidence or testimony that the murder weapon had ever been in my custody or control. From the very beginning of this whole ordeal, I have professed my innocence, regardless of the law enforcement and prosecutorial misconduct that occurred even prior to this case going to court. The very conviction from the jury should be reversed due to the lack of evidence, which didn't prove me guilty. I wasn't guilty. I'm not guilty. The prosecution did not produce any evidence that I had ever even been to the crime scene, that I ever touched or had any control or contact with that murder weapon, or that the getaway vehicle was even the same vehicle.
Okay, of course, last but not least, and again, we have our content disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this next video are not meant to hurt any individual, and we cannot be held liable in such situations. This is a copyright disclaimer under Section 52 of the Copyright Act 1957. Exceptions are given for fair dealing for purposes such as fair dealing of any work for private or for personal use, including research for criticism or review, for reporting of current events or current affairs, or for commentary. All right, guys, let's go ahead and play the last one. I won't keep you all night. But some of these, I know they're disturbing, but they need spoke of, especially the little kids. Those kids cannot be forgotten because a case is hard. Nobody wants to cover it. Well, somebody has to.
Says he survived what his attorney calls a harrowing ordeal. But what really happened in those final moments before his arrest? He's now sitting in custody in the Bahamas after claiming his wife, Lynette Hooker, mysteriously fell into the water and vanished without a trace. Now newly revealed messages Hooker allegedly sent to a friend offer his version of events as growing questions swirl over whether Lynette's disappearance was truly an accident or something far more sinister. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. I want to bring you up to speed on what Brian's lawyer has been telling us. She actually just sent me a message as we're starting this recording saying that Brian is about to do an official police interview, which was scheduled for 10:30 in the morning Friday. This is an interview that his lawyer says that she is going to be sitting in on. So we'll be waiting for updates on that. She also overnight sent us an update on what her client told her when she talked to him at a police station in Freeport, Bahamas. And he lays out quite the story that took place prior to his arrest. This is a statement per his attorney, Terrell Butler. She shared with us what Brian called a harrowing account that happened right before this arrest, which was on Wednesday night. Quote, Brian shared a harrowing account of an incident that occurred on the night of his arrest. Under conditions of heavy rain and strong force winds, he was taken by boat to his boat, the Soulmate, for a police search. Despite the choppy and dangerous sea conditions, he was kept in handcuffs while attempting to move sideways across the wet, unstable flooring of the boat to maintain his balance with a bundle of clothes in his restricted hands. He lost his footing and fell overboard. He was submerged in the cold water and took in a significant amount of seawater before his life jacket brought him to the surface. He had to be rescued from the water by the police. As a result of this fall, Brian sustained an injury to his knee, which has caused him to limp, as well as a visible abrasion. Now, Butler previously said that the police may have tricked Brian into coming in for an interrogation. She told us that Brian was about to go out on Wednesday on what she called a search and rescue mission for Lynette, but then police asked him to come in and talk. And she claims that Brian was told he wouldn't need a lawyer for that conversation and that he wasn't a suspect. She also says police talked to him for more than 3 hours. Then at the end of that interview, they put him under arrest. Right now, we're waiting to learn if Brian is going to be charged in this case. Butler says in the Bahamas, someone can be held for 48 hours without a charge, and that can be extended to 96 hours as long as there is an official police interview where he would be able to have an attorney present. And we just learned that that interview is potentially happening as we're recording this episode of On the Case. Now, Butler also said, quote, Brian appears completely heartbroken and deeply distressed. His primary concern and source of intense frustration is his inability to continue to search for his wife of 25 years. The trauma of her disappearance coupled with his current detention as a suspect, has left him in an extremely fragile state. Now, to me, there are two big questions at this point in the case. They're probably pretty obvious to you. First off, what happened to Lynette? But then, how can anyone prove what Brian said happened is the truth, or whether there's something more going on here? These are direct messages that Brian sent to a friend on Facebook in the wake of Lynette's disappearance. That friend shared them with us. So he reached out to Brian on Monday after seeing the hookers on the news. And Brian replied with, quote, "Yes, brother, I'm afraid so. Off the dinghy in some choppy seas on the way back to the sailboat. The wind blew me away from her and she swam towards the sailboat and we lost sight of each other pretty quickly as it was just about sundown. I drifted and tried to paddle with one oar for the next 7 hours until I washed up behind the shore of the next island over and was able to get some help finally. We are still searching. A lot is going on right now, but I thank you for checking on us. Being on the news is a huge burden, and I just had my first ever news organization call me a few minutes ago." So he goes on to say, quote, "Our family is in hell right now. Search and Rescue just called and said they had searched a bunch of areas today and no joy. They're going back out tomorrow, but a storm is coming in Wednesday." Then Tuesday morning, Brian responded to his friend's message with, quote, "Thank you for reaching out and supporting us. I got the boat back to Marsh Harbor yesterday after the fire department brought me back to my dinghy. I'm on the Moorball at a place called the Conch Inn, staying on the boat. My sister and brother-in-law are flying in later this morning to stay for a couple of days, and I will probably stay with them for a night or two while weather happens. But then I plan on heading back out to the site and continuing searching. I will most likely definitely need help in the future, but I just don't know what it is yet. I'm trying to keep the faith. Search and rescue is out again today before some big winds come tomorrow." Now, it appears the story that Brian is telling to his friend in these messages lines up with what Brian allegedly told authorities in the Bahamas, that on Saturday night, he and Lynette, they were on their dinghy and they were leaving a restaurant on Abaco, and they were headed back to their boat on this 8-foot dinghy. It's got a hard bottom, outboard engine on the back. Not a lot of space for two people. Typically, you sit on the side. And then in pictures of Brian and Lynette on a dinghy, that's kind of where they're sitting. And there weren't ideal conditions to go out on a small boat. You had winds between 18 and 20 knots, which is between 22 and 25 miles per hour. Now, Brian says that Lynette was the one manning the engine, and she had the keys with her. And so when she allegedly fell overboard, the keys went with her. And that left Brian to figure out how to get back to land and to safety. He said that the currents and the winds, as you read in those messages, kind of pushed Lynette and him away from each other, making it difficult to try and rescue her in that moment. I did find it interesting, he said, though, that she was swimming back in the direction of the boat. That's the first time that we heard that. Brian then said he had to paddle for hours to get to Marsh Harbor, Bahamas, where he came ashore at a marina and then was able to get in touch with someone to get help. Now, the Associated Press put out this map here, and you can see Hopetown. That's where they started on this dinghy. They were trying to get to Elbow Key, and at some point, that is when Lynette allegedly fell off the boat. Did he say anything about, like, kind of in that moment, like what he did to try and find your mom?
He said that she was floating away, so he threw a life device at her, and then he started swimming or paddling to shore. So I don't know why he didn't drop anchor and look for her. That's the first thing I would have done, is go towards her, not away from her.
This is part of our interview that we did with Hooker's stepdaughter, Carly Aylesworth. She's 28 years old. She lives in Michigan, and she has been very public. She says that she has concerns that her mom's disappearance, it wasn't an accident like Brian has claimed. Now, Brian's attorney has said that he denies any wrongdoing in this, and he's also denying the allegations that Carly has made in interviews about him and his marriage. Like, how did he tell you that this happened?
He called me. It was about 8:30 at night on Sunday, and he told me, "Hey, your mom's missing. It happened late last night. But we're going to come up soon, so I hope to see you." And I was just like, okay. Like, I didn't say much because I was like, what? And then he's like, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm going to search for her." Bye. And then got off the phone quick. So I don't know. It was a little sketchy. So
it was as if he was going to come back to the U.S. and just kind of like, hey, this just happened. And
but whatever, let's hang out when I come see you. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. That just, it didn't sit right with me. It took him so long to even tell me that she was gone. So, and I don't know why he didn't go to his boat and call on the radio to other sailboats. "Hey, have you seen my wife? She's missing." Because I know boaters would probably go out and help look.
Not only has Carly said that she's suspicious of Brian's story of what happened to her mom, she also claimed that the hookers were not as perfect of a couple as maybe their social media made it seem. Now, the couple had been living together on the boat since around pandemic time, Carly told us. They bought this sailboat, aptly named Soulmate, roughly 3 years ago in Texas. And ever since, they've been living aboard it. They travel to destinations like the Bahamas. And on their social media, they say they left the BS behind and they're living their best lives. But Carly claims the couple has a history of domestic violence. She claims 2 years ago, Brian allegedly threatened to choke her mom out and throw her overboard. Now, there's no court case documentation of that. And again, Brian's attorney says that he denies those kind of allegations. But we do have this police report that documents a domestic dispute involving the hookers that happened in 2015 when they lived in Michigan. Police in Kentwood, Michigan, write that they were called to the hookers' home just after 1 o'clock in the morning on February 1st, 2015. And they say that Brian Hooker claimed that he was assaulted by Lynette. He accused her of hitting him in the face multiple times. And police write that Brian was intoxicated and he had blood coming from his nose. Brian told them that Lynette was drunk And she was trying to get into a bedroom upstairs where she was concerned a man named Jacob Hooker, who we do believe to be Brian's son, was, quote, fooling around and had locked the door. Brian said he went upstairs to calm Lynette down, and that is when Lynette hit him 4 to 5 times in the face, he claimed.
Good
Police wrote,
Lord,
quote, he had never been hit like that in a long time. He started to cry and became emotional, end quote. Now, Lynette's side of the story was very different. Police say she was highly intoxicated. She claimed that Brian struck her in the forehead. She also accused him of choking her and punching her once. Police said that Brian had visible injuries of a bloody and swollen nose. Police said that Lynette did not have any visible injuries, but Lynette was arrested and brought to the Kent County Jail, where she was lodged on a domestic assault charge. The charges were later dropped, though, because authorities said there was no way to prove who started the assault. Now, that case happened obviously a long time ago, roughly a decade, but it does give you a glimpse into what may have been a marriage with some toxic traits. Carly told us that before her mom.
Just going to lay this out here that some states, if you're in a domestic dispute with your spouse or someone that lives in your home, if you both touch each other, you both go to jail, period. There's no ands, ifs, none of that. If there's marks on both, you're done. You're both going to jail for domestic violence. Now, whoever is hurt is probably going to get out a heck of a lot quicker. But in the state of Missouri, if it's domestic and you both put your hands on each other, even if you're defending yourself, your butt's going too. And then you're getting a 24-hour no contact order, if not longer, with your spouse. So these people need to learn how to behave themselves or get away.
Mom went missing. Her mom left her a voicemail where she sounded drunk. She also shared with us this voicemail that her stepdad left her after her mom went missing, but before his arrest. Listen.
Hello, honey. I just got a call from Hopetown Search and Rescue, and they have found the flotation device that I threw to mom when she fell overboard. And so they haven't found her yet, but they can now focus all of their efforts in a smaller area, and they're still out there searching today. So I just wanted to update you and let you know. I love you. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Now, Carly told us the U.S. Coast Guard interviewed her as part of a criminal investigation into this case. Brian's attorney says that she has demanded a full medical evaluation for Brian after he allegedly fell into the water with police hurting his knee, leaving him with a limp and an abrasion, she says. We have reached out to the Royal Bahamian Police Force for comment, but have not heard back. Brian Hooker denies the allegations that he had anything to do with his wife's disappearance and what his stepdaughter has said in interviews about him. Joining us now to talk more about this case is Mauricio Padilla. Always great to have you here on Law and Crime. Thank you for being with us. Just a fascinating case.
Their history, they're going to look into everything. So the issue is they've been living on a boat, so they may not be texting each other back and forth. There's no need for it. I'm literally living with you in a closed space this entire time, which is some people could say that it's even evidence for like a boiling pot. Like, you know, if you're not getting along and you're in the tight quarters of a vessel like that, it could, you know, tensions could rise to the point that there was violence. He's really going to have to explain why they were on that dinghy, you know, because it's not something that's even feasible. Like, you're talking about 25-mile-an-hour winds, man. That's like, you know, the boat's got to be sinking for you to be putting, you know, yourself in a dinghy like that in those types of conditions. So that's a real red flag right there.
Could he be in trouble? Let's just say, and there's so many hypotheticals at this point, but it's like if he was the one having them go out on the dinghy, like he was the one who's like, we got to get back to the boat, and then that ends up being a place where you have some sort of you know, accident that happens and she still falls off. Like, could he still face charges?
I mean, arguably, there could be something like if you take steps that are, you know, completely disregard safety and they're wanton, and you commit some egregious error and you put her life in danger, there could be like an involuntary manslaughter.
And we also have to understand that we are innocent until proven guilty in the United States. Now, the fact that both of these two were drinking, they get in a dinghy, they're in the Bahamas, they're having, you know, alcohol could have played a lot of that decision making. Not that that's any kind of excuse, but we don't know that he did anything to her. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, he's guilty. I don't know. He is innocent in the court of law until they can prove that he's guilty. I'm just saying there's a lot of shady things here. The domestic violence part is very alarming, considering, yeah, they're older. They've been together a long time, but there's already been past domestic violence. That's very scary. So, of course, here I am with this again. The National Domestic Violence Hotline. Now, they will speak English, Spanish, over 200 different languages through interpretation services. These are 24/7, no matter what, you can call them any time of day. If you can't call 1-800-799-7233, it's a panicking situation. He can't hear, she can't hear, then text and you text the word begin, all capital letters, 88788. Put that in your brain. 88788. 88788, guys. If you don't do it for you, do it for your children, because you don't want to lose your children. You may not consider your life worthy, but I promise you, your children's lives are. Get out while you can.
Charge. I don't know in Bahamian law has similar statutes, but if you take into if you don't take safety into consideration, and you take steps that are extremely sloppy and wanton and things of that nature, there could be criminal charges. Just like if you're driving a car, drag racing and somebody dies, or things of that nature. So there could be.
I think for him, and it's like, I don't know what I would do in that situation. I don't think anybody does. So it's always hard to like second guess people on what happened. But like he has, the statement that he released was very, very, it seemed like a lawyer had written it. I don't know if a lawyer did, but it was very, just kind of professional in the way it was written. He's not someone who went out on camera saying like, please help me find my wife. I know he was, someone from CBS News came up and talked to him on the island, and he didn't want to say anything with that. And I don't think he's ever had like media experience like this before. But like, how would you advise a client to act in a situation like this? And I'm talking before the arrest, when she was just missing at that point.
You know what? At that point, I would just say, I would advise him, to leave the media to the attorney at that point, because honestly, there's nothing that he's going to say that's going to, quench the public's thirst, for justice. People are going to think that there was foul play, period. There's nothing that he could say to the media that is going to satisfy people. So in that case, I would just say, don't say anything. Because really, there really is nothing that he could possibly say. The fact that he was on that dinghy, the fact that we're talking about 25-mile-an-hour winds, that you're not going to overcome that. So when you put yourself in front of the camera to try and justify the unjustifiable, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. So I would advise him, don't even talk, because the public opinion has already been cast against you. So anything that you could say is probably going to be used against you.
And then just like when you hear his story and the way that he tells it, like, hey, we're in.
I mean, honestly, if you put yourself in his position, they are two adults, been together for a very long time. They're both drinking. They're in the Bahamas. They get this wild idea to get on a dinghy. It's 25-mile-per-hour winds. Like I said, a lot of things can happen. That's dangerous alone. You add some alcohol in there. I mean, there's absolutely no proof that he pushed her off there. There's just none. Do I think there's something shady here? Yeah, maybe. But who am I? It's going to look shady. And I think that the attorney is absolutely correct. In a situation like this, it's pointless to explain yourself, because everything you say is going to be turned around no matter what you say. So I'm not sure. I think for me, I would have a spokesperson, only because nothing he says is everything's going to be used against him, no matter if he did this or not. And he has, like I said, he's innocent until proven guilty. But the more he speaks, the more that guilt could show, even if he's innocent, because he is nervous. I mean, you got to figure, if they're married this long and his wife is gone, she's gone, she fell off the dinghy. I mean, he's got to live with that alone. I sure as hell wouldn't want to deal with the public, not in a situation like that. I'm not saying he's innocent, but I'm also not saying he's guilty either. And until he goes to court, I'm not going to. But I do think the domestic violence thing is going to hurt him greatly in court. And as it should. And I realize they've been together a long time, and a lot of people have a lot of issues, but love doesn't hurt that way. Love doesn't physically hurt that way. It just doesn't. I couldn't imagine putting my hands on someone that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, nor should they. That's just not love. That is beyond just normal logic, except for the fact that they were on vacation. They were drinking. Looks like they were having a good time. I don't know. Things happen. I mean, other weirder things have happened in life, but I don't want to say that this guy's guilty, even in my opinion, because I absolutely don't know that he did. I mean, the fact they got in that dinghy, that dangerous, is scary enough. So the alcohol alone was, impairing their judgment. Just my opinion. He may be guilty, and he very well may be. But as far as from what I've seen, they have to prove that. And both of them drinking and getting in a dinghy in 25-mile-per-hour winds probably was a lot of the alcohol in that decision. So we really can't judge on that, but I'm curious about the trial for sure.
some rough waters. The wind blew her away. Just what stands out to you about that story? And it seems like, there's people who will always speculate, a husband said his wife fell into the water. And then, especially in the true crime world, people just start thinking to foul play automatically. But just what about his story at this point? I mean, clearly it was enough for law enforcement to detain him, arrest him in their words. Just what stands out to you about the story that Brian Hooker's been saying?
I mean, first, in addition to why you were even on the dinghy, yeah, you threw her a floating device. And then what? I mean, some people would say, I would rather be floating in the water with my wife than being on the dinghy. Some people, you know what I mean? I'm going down with her. So at some point, you abandoned it and left her, right? So you threw her a dinghy, the boat, you're separating from her, you're trying to get to her. Some people would say, you left her there. So, and listen, thank God I've never been put in that position, and it's very difficult to even opine. But at the end of the day, you left her there. Whether or not your life was in danger or not, there's some people that would have said, I'm going to die trying to save her, which he did.
Which again, if you're not in that position, I don't really know that you can state of what you would do. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know how intoxicated he was. I don't know how intoxicated she was. We got 25 mile per hour wind. She falls off the dinghy. If he's that intoxicated, is he really going to be able to help her, or did he freak? I mean, I'm not taking up for him, but I'm also not going to blame him because I'm not sure how this situation has turned out. I'm not sure at all.
And just as a criminal defense attorney, if you're facing a case where it's kind of just the totality of the circumstances, like that's the evidence you're facing, and if this goes down that route where, he has his truth, his words, which is it was an accident. She fell in, she had the keys, she was the one who was driving. I had to paddle ashore. But then you have all this history. You have family members alleging some really bad stuff against him. Family members who are alleging that they were heavy drinkers and things got bad when they got drunk. Like, is that the type of case a criminal defense attorney feels good about, where truly the only person who knows what happened on that dinghy at this point is Brian Hooker? Yeah, listen, it's not the kind of case that a criminal defense attorney is going to feel good about just because of the optics of it. One of the questions is she had the keys to the dinghy on her, right? Is that what he's saying? The keys to the dinghy? Yeah. So, but wouldn't the keys to the dinghy be needed to actually operate the dinghy? So at what point are you on this little micro, because that's a micro boat, right? Like that's a micro dinghy. So you're on this very small boat. At what point are the keys in her pocket and not in the boat? Like my understanding of boats and is like a car, like that key should be in the ignition. So how did it end up on her and she went overboard? So I know that there's a long time delay from her falling overboard and him, I guess, rowing ashore. So I don't understand how it is that the keys are not part of the boat and on her when she falls in. That's something that he would have to explain to law enforcement and to myself. That's one of the main questions that I would want to answer. Yeah, I was having that thought as well. Like maybe it's like a jet ski where you have like the kill switch where it's attached, and then if you fall off, like it kills the engine. But it still seems like something on a dinghy. I don't know how much force it would take to actually pull it out of the ignition. But there's just a lot of questions that I'm sure. I know he interviewed with police for like 3.5 hours, and he's doing more interviews today. We'll see if charges are eventually filed in this case. Mauricio Padilla, criminal defense attorney. It's always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thank you for your expertise on this. It's a fascinating case.
Let me try to make that bigger. Okay, guys, I guess that's it for tonight. I want to thank you all for joining me. You could be anywhere, but you chose to be here. I appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you. God bless you all. Sleep well, feel loved. And like I said, domestic violence hotline right there. Please save yourself. You're worth it. All right, guys. God bless you all. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
In a world that turns too fast, some are lost, left in the past, but we won't let silence win. We'll speak their names again. Voices rising through the dark. Every story leaves a mark. We are the ones who won't forget. The fight for truth is not done yet. We shine the light, we raise the call. For the missing, the broken, we stand tall. For justice, for healing, for every